All right, lads, and welcome back to the Off the Line podcast on YouTube and on Spotify.
Hey, we've broken a deal with Spotify. They've given us millions and millions of pounds to hear what we have to say about this week's Premier League football. Is that right?
We are. Yeah, basically, we are the new investors in Newcastle United because of what they paid. We offered to buy it for 40 quid and a Mars bar. And
Mike Ashley was sniffing around it.
Yeah.
No,
but we're very excited to be on this platform. Obviously, for podcasts, this is probably the best place to be in general because you guys can now turn your phone off and listen to us, or you can put us on in the car.
The sultry tones of Sam Davis.
Yeah, you can really.
What more do you want?
That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. I can't lie. I've listened to the one that's already up because I love this. But no, we're very happy to be here, and we hope that you lot are enjoying the content. Of course, today is another weekly Bosh.
Bosh.
At some point, we're going to come up with a jingle for it.
You're going to play a little guitar thingy, aren't you?
I'll do a little guitar thingy when I get around to it, or we can find some copyrighted stuff to play online and get demonetized.
Despite the fact that we're not eligible for monetization anyway, but we move. Memery. All right. So the weekly Bosh. If you don't know how this goes, I don't know where you have been for the last 7-8 weeks, but we'll go through it. We go through the weekend's results just gone, talk about what was good, talk about what was bad. Then we do our power rankings, the things that we thought were especially brilliant or especially, hopeless. And then we'll look at the weekend's fixtures to come, a couple of really tasty ones this weekend, and we predict and talk about them. So without further ado, Jamie, would you like to jump into it? Should I kick us off?
You should kick us off.
Saturday, 12:30 on the time. Sorry, I'm setting a scene here. Newcastle 2. Newcastle 0, Chelsea 2. Sam, do you want to take us through the game, mate? What was your analysis?
It was a very good performance from us. I think it was a solid team performance. Having watched the game, couldn't see one player, especially that stood out. But as a whole 11, I think we all turned up. But there's one word to describe Newcastle's performance, and that is lifeless.
Yeah,
absolutely without merit. And we're good. This is one of our power rankings. Actually, we're going to talk about Newcastle a bit later because to finish the game with what percentage of possession was it? It was
29.
Really 29% possession when you're 2-0 down in the Premier League game. There was a point in the game. There was a point in the game where I believe they had less than 10% possession over a 5-minute period when they were losing at home. Now, if that's not Brucey ball in effect, I don't know what is. But we'll come back to that later on. Chelsea played really well. A good assist from Timo Werner in the game, and just generally
amazing run, I'd call it.
Yes, and living up to the nickname Turbo Timo, definitely in between two defenders, and
another clean sheet for Ed Mendy as well.
Definitely, and notably in the absence of Thiago Silva, another clean sheet. So that's a really positive step for us. You can kind of see the effect that having him just at the club is having on defenders like Kurt Zouma, and Antonio Rudiger. They seem more at home.
Yeah,
playing in Premier League games now, which is great.
Yeah, we'll talk about Newcastle a bit later on, but we'll move on to a quite exciting game for the neutral, actually. I watched towards the end of this game. It was Aston Villa 1, Brighton 2. Bit of late drama, a bit of a red card for Tariq Lamptey, which Sam was just shadowboxing about because he loves Tariq Lamptey.
One of my favourite players.
But yeah, I saw the highlights for this, and I saw Danny Welbeck popping up with a lovely little chip that I'd be proud of on pro clubs. And also Solly March picking up a goal as well. Ezri Konsa as well, who just seems to be really quality. But I think the thing that killed it for Villa early on was the injury of Ross Barkley. Yeah. I think that was massive because, he's been so good for them since he's joined on loan from Chelsea. I think he's been such a massive part of the success that they've had. So we'll see how Villa deal without him in the upcoming fixtures. Especially with how congested the fixture list is over the Christmas period. What do you think about this game, Sam? Well, we talked about the impact that Ross Barkley's had on in the transfer roundup. You know, he's definitely added a lot of class into that midfield, especially because they're pairing with John McGinn. I think he's taken their midfield up a level.
Yeah,
definitely. Losing him early on in the game had an effect. I think Brighton were able to take more control in that area. Having watched the highlights, 2 really good goals from Welbeck and Sonny March, and it's a big result for Brighton because I feel like Brighton this season have been performing really well in games, but just haven't been able to come away with a result. You know, you take your mind back to the United game. They looked like they robbed a point at the end.
Five woodwork hits in that United game.
Yeah, 5 woodwork hits, and then they got a penalty given against them in the end of the game. You know, it's things like that. And you do sometimes get it in the Premier League with these teams where they feel like things are really starting to rail against them. But I think Brighton have deserved a point. And I just want to point out, because we've been pretty vindictive of VAR on this podcast, but the decision at the end not to award the penalty to Aston Villa for a blatant dive is an example of VAR being used for the right reasons. You know, it wasn't a penalty; it was a dive. Whether I think that the player should then be subsequently booked or banned for simulation.
I think the problem with it is that there was contact, despite the fact that he got the ball first. There was contact afterwards, it's exactly what happened with. I cast my mind back to the Mo Salah penalty against West Ham about just pre lockdown 2.0, where you just throw your legs up, your arms up, and you get to the floor, and it looks much worse than it is. So I mean, I don't know. It is frustrating, but there's been a lot of conversation, especially on our group chats, about what the consequences should be for diving and that sort of thing. But that's something we can discuss in another episode, maybe a special one where we talk about simulation and our thoughts on what will happen with it. But
definitely. It's the excessive theatrical rolling and screaming that make it all a bit of a nonsense. But overall, really good game for the neutral and a really good result for Brighton. And everyone's kind of been waiting for Aston Villa to
step up a bit,
some points. So the next one is it's a big one.
Yeah,
this is a flag in the sand for Tottenham Hotspur. Definitely. Put a marker down, because I mean, we're going to talk about them later, so I won't go into too much depth. Are they title contenders now?
Yeah.
I think they've got to be, sure.
And I think, a lot of people say that their title challenge really depends on the fitness of Harry Kane and Son. But, they're a whole team as well, and I thought Ndombele played quite well. I didn't watch a huge amount of the game. I watched a little bit of the game. But, I think, when you look at the squad, they've definitely, they've got the legs on the bench, It's not... Yeah. It's not out of the realms of possibility that Spurs can challenge this season. So, much to both mine and Sam's displeasure, we've got to say through gritted teeth that Spurs have a proper shot at this season, especially if teams like Manchester City keep, messing up as they have been doing recently, dropping points here and there. And, when you have that at the start of the season, it's difficult to really pick that up throughout the rest of the season. So, we'll see what happens with City, but... just a bit crap from City. I think this is what I said in the preview. I don't mean to go back too far and talk about it in too much depth, but I think City have felt the loss of David Silva and Leroy Sané a lot, and especially with the powers of Sergio Aguero waning. We'll see how they respond to it. But 2-0 win for Tottenham, really, really well done for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Hit them on the break.
I think the inclusion of players like Højbjerg and Reguilon.
Yeah, that's what I was saying in FAQs.
It's given that team a real boost. I think they needed a good left back, and I think they need another midfielder. So he's added players where he needed to add them.
Yeah.
Harry Kane was obviously really good at the weekend again.
Yep, definitely.
Overall, just a really good performance from Spurs, and they're playing football reminiscent of the football that Jose Mourinho played when he was at Chelsea, when he was at Inter. It's very Jose Mourinho-esque football, but it works, and I think that it's quite a scary prospect how well Tottenham are doing at the moment, especially because Chelsea have got them this weekend.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a massive game. We'll talk about it later. But we'll move on to Old Trafford for the Bruno Fernandes show against West Brom.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say they're a one-man team, but they're a one-man team. Let's be honest here.
They are definitely a one-man team.
Carries that side.
Manchester United this season have been the masters of getting results in games they really ought not have got results in. It was unconvincing.
I'd say the least. You'd think coming to Old Trafford, bottom of the table, no one of two clubs in the entire 92 in England that haven't won a game yet. And Man United should be absolutely whipping West Brom here.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, they haven't been that good. And they've had to survive through a Bruno Fernandes penalty.
Yeah. And arguably, West Brom could have had one too.
Yeah, definitely. I saw that.
So it's a difficult one to take. I think it is a difficult pill to swallow for West Brom.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, the retaking of the penalty was correct. The goalkeeper was off his line.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of football now, unfortunately. Yeah. That's the way.
Although I will bring up an interesting point I saw on Twitter afterwards. If Bruno Fernandes takes that little skip that he likes to, why does that mean the goalkeeper's not allowed to take a step as well? It's an argument to be had, I think. And I think we should talk about it another day. But another loss for West Brom, unfortunately. And it's looking pretty bleak for them, isn't it?
Definitely. I think West Brom and Sheffield United are really starting to look in trouble.
Yeah, 100%. Fulham. Yeah, we go to another team that looks in trouble. That's Fulham. It was insane. I watched the first half of this game. It was ridiculous. Calvert-Lewin scoring in the 41st second or something like that.
Yeah.
Just cut through Fulham like butter. But what I will say is that Everton do have massive defensive frailties, which I think a lot of teams can because they've gone to a 5-back where they put Luca Digne and I think they had Alex Iwobi on the right wing back. But Luca Digne is absolutely ridiculous. I think there was news tonight saying that he's injured, which will be a massive loss for Everton. But yeah,
it would be huge.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin popping up again.
Yeah. Overall, it was a job done for Everton. It wasn't convincing again, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when he is on form, is a real force. Obviously, like you said, scored in the first 45 seconds. It was definitely a statement of intent from Everton. Yeah. I think because Everton, they looked like a team in the first 20 minutes who came to this game knowing they could beat Fulham. Yeah. And I think the confidence that they came out the blocks with oozed that. And then obviously Fulham got a goal back. And then it was a case of Everton slowly pulling away in the first half. Fulham pulled back in the second half. And obviously a woeful penalty.
Yeah, from another one.
Ivan Cavaliero. I think Scott Parker needs to get some work done on the training ground, because
I think he needs to make himself a player manager, register himself, and then whenever they've got a penalty, sub himself on and take it, because nothing's working. Mitrovic has missed one, Lookman's missed one, and now Cavallero as well. And these are massive points.
It's arguably 2 points. 2 points in 2 weeks dropped. If they score both of these, Burnley are below them.
Yeah, definitely.
They get the results. So it's if you are a team battling relegation, you can't afford to be missing these. You really can't.
And I will say one thing as well.
I think Fulham will kick themselves. I think Fulham will be kicking themselves massively, because 100%. 2 massive chances they've wasted now.
Yeah, 100%. And also what I will say is that Yerry Mina is one of the most inconsistent defenders in the Premier League. I don't get him at all. It doesn't make any sense. The goal that Fulham scored, Bobby Decordova-Reid just sort of walked past him, and you think, have a look at his run. See what he's doing. It was too easy, and I think Everton will be punished by that if they don't go out, because they've strengthened further forward, especially with the likes of Alan, Doucouré, James Rodriguez, and all of that sort of comes to mind. But if they don't fix what is a leaky defence, then they could really struggle this year.
Yeah, that's well said.
Cheers.
That way.
Right. Sheffield United, West Ham.
Sheffield United. Sheffield United are going down. They're going down. This was another performance of just. They just show nothing going forward.
No, they haven't got anything. They hit the bar. Ollie McBurney always shows up against West Ham, but there's nothing there. There really isn't. I was watching them and I was thinking, it's really hard to explain for Sheffield. What I will say is West Ham had a couple of really good chances, and I think it's a definite improvement on the Fulham performance. Obviously not in terms of result, but the quality of chances that we created was really good. Our final finish wasn't quite there. Obviously Seb Haller's goal was double decent, and he was very good. But yeah, just sort of I wouldn't say it's routine, but yeah, poor performance from Sheffield, and they're really looking in the mud now. I can't remember who. What was the stat? Like
I think at this point in the league, the results at Sheffield United, they've gone their first 9 games winless. No team has ever gone their first 9 games winless and then escaped relegation.
Yeah.
2 times it's happened were Middlesbrough and Manchester City in the 90s and the 80s.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened this century, and a team is yet to escape relegation after this poor start. And to be honest, with the loss of Jack O'Connell at the start of the year and the loss of Dean Henderson, obviously back to Manchester United, I think it has knocked their confidence. But they haven't reinforced attacking wise in the ways that they needed to. And I think their style of play has been well and truly found out.
Yeah.
Teams know how to play against it. I believe it's the second worst goal difference in the league. They've only scored 4 goals in 9 games. Sheffield United, it's the joint worst goal scoring record in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and it's really bad. It's
looking
really
dire for
it's
them,
really
isn't
poor. It is looking really, really woeful now, and it could. It's showing no signs of getting any better.
Yeah, they're going to the Hawthorns next week, so we'll talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, another 3 points for West Ham, and we move up to 8th.
Good season for you so far.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a thing the other day on Twitter which said, in terms of like positionally last year, West Ham have had the hardest start to the season. In terms of where the teams we've played finished last season.
Yeah,
I think the average position that we've played is like 7th. I think it was.
Yeah.
So to come out with 14 points from that is really a credit to David Moyes, not to the board, to David Moyes, and the new system that we've got, which seems to be working really nicely for us. So yeah.
Well done, West Ham.
Yes.
Another really good result. Next game up,
Leeds Arsenal.
Leeds versus Arsenal, a really, really drab, dull affair. This one, Leeds actually showing a lot of gumption going forward, but not a lot of end products. And Arsenal, another team this weekend who looked lifeless. And their attacking woes could be put down in the second half to a moment of madness from Nicola Pepe. We'll talk about that later on because I think I've got quite strong opinions on this. I don't know if you do. But
yeah, I do. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about him. Not much of it, well, none of it good. I think he's let his team down, and Arsenal could quite easily put the blame for that on him. But at the end of the day,
the onus comes with the rest of the team, and I think when you go to a newly promoted side, even though it is Leeds and the hype surrounding them, you can't go to Ellen Road and have 33% possession and 9 shots to Leeds' 25. Yeah. Not for a team that's pushing top 6 or has aspirations there. And, when you look at Arsenal's position in the league, it's not very good, really, is it? Aubameyang misfiring again.
Yes, Arsenal only 2 shots on target against Leeds at the weekend. And Aubameyang, he is misfiring. You can't... When your team's not scoring, I mean, everyone's talking about Aubameyang being this brilliant player. But Arsenal... at the moment aren't getting results, and that's the bottom line. They were beaten pretty comprehensively by Aston Villa in the last game week.
Yeah.
And this weekend they've been held to a draw they probably should have lost had Leeds taken their chances in the way that they should have done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's worrying times for Arsenal.
it could just be a blip, or this could be a sign of a wider
very
problem.
Inconsistent. But yeah,
yes,
we'll move on to Anfield. Liverpool 3, Leicester 0. We had our reservations going into this game week, especially on last week's Bosh, saying Liverpool's injury crisis has really affected them, and but then I look at the team and you think that's not as bad as it's cracked up to be. I don't think that side that they put out wasn't really awful, and yeah, it was convincing, really, wasn't it? I don't think Leicester really had that much of a sniff. Did you watch this game?
I did. I enjoyed the fact that Liverpool, this was very much a performance where they've had their adversities in the last 2-3 weeks, definitely.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people saying that they've got injury woes. I think they definitely benefited from having Fabinho back in the team.
100%. Changes that side, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the main players that people were very much worried about being in the side. But, I mean, people have been saying this. These guys are the champions of England. They won the league by 20-odd points last season.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen by accident.
No.
They've got enough in reserve to continue to beat teams. I don't think Leicester were very good at the weekend, but Liverpool, again, were just Liverpool.
Different gravy.
Yeah, you can't write them off because of the injuries. I think going through Christmas and that period, playing 2 games a week, sometimes you'll play 3 games in a week. It will start to test them, especially having both Joe Gomez and Van Dijk out.
Yeah,
who are pretty much, I would say they're 2 first-choice centre-backs. Potentially Fabinho is in the conversation.
I think when those 2 play, it's Fabinho in that sort of holding midfield. But
yeah.
Well, and obviously Salah coming back as well. The injury crisis doesn't look as bad for Liverpool running into the Christmas period. But we'll see how Liverpool go. Right, we'll move on to Monday. Burnley's first points on the I say first points. They've obviously got some draws, but Burnley's first win on the board. A 1-0 win against Crystal Palace. I think an early goal from Chris Wood, and then it was just sort of Dyche ball for the rest of it.
Well, when you're down at the bottom, you got to do what you got to do.
That's it.
And overall, Burnley basically Burnleyed the result. They sat back, defended, and they dug in, and that's what unfortunately people don't like about Burnley, is that their football is a little bit unimaginative and a little bit 4-4-2 and a little bit straight down the line. But at the end of the day, if you're Burnley, you're looking at teams like Sheffield United and Fulham, and you're thinking,
scrapping for points, aren't you?
All we've got to do is better them. And Chris Wood obviously coming up with a goal at the start of the game, and if you're Sean Dyche, you're not going to be thinking about being flashy and going and getting another one. Just protect what you've got, and I think he knows he's got the players in his squad to do that.
Yeah,
and he's just done what he needed to do. Burnley, especially going through the turmoil of getting taken over. There's obviously financial instability and some financial, unsure future at the club. I said this a couple of weeks ago that if Burnley went down with the trouble they've got behind closed doors at the moment, there could be a real issue there of them actually coming back up. The owners are pretty obviously trying to sell the club. So I think in Sean Dyche's mind, he's not worried about playing attractive football. He's just worried about getting 3 points on the board and keeping himself out of the relegation zone.
You do have to feel for Burnley, and it's a good result for them. Again, Crystal Palace, a very confusing team, always have been. They you see them one week and they're picking up points, and then you see them the next week and they've lost 1-0 to Burnley, and you're thinking, what goes on in that place? I really don't know. I rate Roy Hodgson as a manager, but just a bit of crap, really.
And one final shout out to Nick Pope. Really good save at the end of the game.
It was really, really important save.
I think that's why everyone's kind of tipping him.
My England number one, yeah.
England's number one, because he produces moments like that. And Palace definitely missed the input of Wilf Zaha. Obviously, he was out.
And now has he got COVID now, so he can't play for the next?
He tested positive, so he'll play. He can't play until he tests negative, basically.
Yeah.
Obviously, the COVID restrictions don't apply to professional footballers. They just they aren't allowed to play until they produce a negative test. back this weekend.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by that. I was watching their Champions League a couple of days ago and thinking, how did Mo Salah get on the pitch here? I swear he had a COVID test like 5 days ago. But
yeah,
whatever. Right, last game of the week was Wolves versus Southampton, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch this game and I didn't watch the highlights. It sounded like it was meant to be a good game. What did you see any of this?
I didn't watch it either. As ever, we're really prepared on this podcast. All we can do is really analyse the result instead of analysing the performance, I guess, because I don't the goals look like. I don't really the game went, but I suppose it's an agreeable result for both teams. I don't think either of them will be overly upset with it.
Yeah, both in good form, and I think Southampton will be pleased that Theo Walcott scored as well. But yeah, just a result that you'd sort of expect. I was a bit. I remember on the Bosh last week, I was a little bit torn between who to pick here, but yes. All right, that's the end of the game week.
Fun fact for that one. That was Theo Walcott's first goal for Southampton, first league goal for Southampton in 14 years. His last league goal for Southampton.
Did it take him so long? That's ridiculous.
First league goal for Southampton was 14 years and 347 days ago, so nearly 15 years ago against Luton. Scored the only goal in a 1-0 win. So
there you go. Fun fact.
Back back home.
Yes, power rankings. Shall we go there now?
Power. We shall.
What have we said? We're going. Are we negative first? Is that what we do? I've forgotten.
We go positive first.
Oh, okay, good.
I like to have a rant, Jamie.
Yes, that's true.
I like to get upset, and we will keep them in suspense of me shouting about things. Also, I want to get Tottenham out of the way.
Yeah, let's say this through gritted teeth. Let's go. Go on,
Tottenham are looking like a really good side, and it's really upsetting me.
Yeah.
Harry Kane and Heung-min Son look like the partnership of the season.
Yeah.
They look like a really good team all round. Hugo Lloris is playing really well in goal. Jose Mourinho's got Tottenham firing again.
Yeah. I said this in FAQs. No. I've got to say that. I've said it in FAQs the last week. You can find that on Spotify, by the way. Is that Højbjerg has brought so much to that team, and I think it's really underestimated. Yeah, Spurs really good. Are they top at the moment? Is that right? Are they top of the table? That makes me sick. Yeah. Just it's easy to focus on Son and Kane because obviously they're the ones producing the goals, but you've got to think of this as a whole team performance, and he's built a good squad here, Mourinho. To bring on players like Moura, Lo Celso, and Gareth Bale and Carlos Vinicius, and you think of the names and you think, wow, they've got the legs here. A lot of seasons Tottenham haven't had the legs to go far. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see because if Harry Kane and Son stay fit for the season, then they can really push this to the end, I think.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to cock it up. So let's move on. Liverpool. You weren't expecting me to remain completely neutral on that, Jamie.
That doesn't sound like you at all.
I've not got quite that much self-restraint. So we will move on to Liverpool. Like we said earlier, performance of a team that is still very much based in quality, despite the
They're
transfer.
Quite good, aren't they?
Despite the injury problems and the COVID issues, Liverpool are still pretty good. Obviously, Sadio Mane still in the team is always a bonus.
Diego Jota,
Jota again. I don't know what people were worried about. I mean, they're talking about these defensive issues, and they had to play James Milner at right back. But I mean,
he can play anywhere, and then you've got Joel Matip and Fabinho at centre back, who are two towering players, and then you've still got Robertson, who is just insanely good. So,
and then the small matter of Roberto Firmino, Mane, and Diogo Jota up front.
Yeah,
what on earth were Liverpool fans being so dramatic about? Yeah. But decent, really good performance. Beating a pretty good Leicester side.
Yeah, a Leicester side in good nick and looking to go to Anfield and really get at them, with the pace of Vardy and Barnes. But didn't really work out for them. So, yeah, well done to Liverpool. Good performance.
Liverpool sat second in the table now, only by virtue of goal difference.
Yes.
Obviously suffering from that.
Yes.
Pretty dire defeat away at Villa. So, but no, good performance. Still title contenders. I think still title favourites.
Yeah.
But we move on to DCL.
Calvert-Lewin.
Really good player. He's a bit good at football.
Yeah, 10 goals, 9 games. Standalone top scorer in the Premier League. And another 2 extremely important goals for Everton in terms of their aspirations for this season. I don't think you can underestimate his influence. You know, he's got absolute. He's so powerful in the air, and his shot accuracy has improved to no end. And I think that's really been the turning point for Calvert-Lewin. He's got hops. I don't say that lightly. He's got hops. That kid can jump high, and he just bullies defenders, and that's why he's done so well this season. But yeah, you have anything to say about him?
I think he's making life a little bit difficult for Gareth Southgate. Unfortunately, Harry Kane is also performing, which makes it tough. But you know, it's always good if England can keep him. You know, if he can keep performing, keep scoring, then we're looking at 2 in-form strikers going to the Euros next summer.
Yeah, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, and he definitely adds things to this team. You know, he definitely adds things to the England team. He adds a whole bunch to this Everton team.
Yeah,
I think they've been crying out for a centre forward since they had Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah,
you know, a really big, imposing central striker, and I think he's that player. So yeah, a really good thing for both England and Everton, and should travel to the Euros next summer.
Yes.
So it's positive news.
Mm.
Right, let's have a rant.
Well, yeah. Where are we going first? Are we going to City?
We'll go to City. We'll
okay.
go to City because I feel like this is... Talk about Manchester City first.
Go on, you go.
Well, I watched this game. I watched a lot of this game because I was obviously interested in the result. Personally, I wanted a draw.
Yeah.
Sure. That we got it. City were pretty disappointing for the majority of the game. There is an argument to say that they should have had a goal. It was a very marginal handball decision against Gabriel Jesus. There's the whole argument of it. If it hits the sleeve, it's not a handball, and there's guidelines and stuff. We had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago about VAR and the guidelines around handball and how inconsistent they are. That's a conversation for another day. It doesn't justify the fact that they've been beaten 2-0 in a game where I can't remember them creating many meaningful chances anyway.
No.
Spurs
Go on.
Did what Mourinho does best and defended and dug in and
broke with pace. And you know, that's going into this game, you should know that's what Spurs are going to do. So I think and you know, when your players like Kevin De Bruyne, who, let's be honest, isn't playing his best football, I don't think that's a secret. You know, he's only scored 1 goal this season. Obviously, that missed penalty against Liverpool is not going to do anything for your confidence. When players like that aren't performing, the whole team is affected. And then, you know, you've got the fact that Raheem Sterling was on the bench, and it was just a bit flat from City, is what I thought. You know, obviously they had a lot more shots because, you know, that's what they do. They go to places and they have a lot more shots. But definitely, you know, you've got to be clinical with your chances, especially when you're looking to challenge for the title, and they weren't. And Gabriel Jesus isn't quite looking up to standard of a title-winning side. I don't know what you think about that.
They're definitely missing Sergio Aguero. I think they're missing that killer instinct in the box. You know, that ability to, when a player breaks down the line, or when Kevin De Bruyne finds a pocket of space on the edge.
And that's what I thought Ferran Torres would do, just off a hat-trick against Germany in the international break. I thought he'd, you know, burst on and you know, really put Spurs to the sword here, but just flat. That's all I can describe it as. I think
ultimately they're missing the technical ability of actually both Aguero and David Silva. That ability to find pockets of space.
And Sane.
That really lends itself to Pep Guardiola's way of playing football. But yeah, a pretty flat performance from City. And if you'd have said that City would have been comfortably behind Chelsea and Tottenham at this point in the season,
and West Ham,
last year, and West Ham, I mean,
it's not comfortable, but they're 13th in the table.
I was going to say the table's not overly important at this point in the season, but we're over. We're about a quarter of the way through now. 25% of the way through the season. It's starting to take shape. The top three are Tottenham, Liverpool, and Chelsea. The relegation zone's starting to come into view. Yeah. And Manchester City are sat in 13th, and that is a very disappointing start for them. 100%. And you're right. There's games that they look really flat in.
Yeah, and, 1-1 draw against West Ham is just an example. Definitely. I watched that game, and obviously they're good, but they've been saved by Phil Foden, who comes on and does his thing and scores. But yeah, I just. For City's sake, they've got to pick it up. Otherwise, they're going to get left behind. They're 8 points behind Tottenham and Liverpool, which is a long way in the Premier League. So we'll see. But yeah, right. We should move on to Nicola Pepe. Oh, that's all I could. It's not all I can say about it. Trust me. But you just think they're so stupid. Obviously, Alioski's reaction to it is dramatised because that level of he's butted his head into him a little bit. It doesn't deserve the whole hands over the face, crying on the floor. But it's the Premier League, and if someone butts into you, it's a red card. So yeah, go down.
It's behaviour. It's abysmal. It's stupid behaviour. It's utterly just stupid. I mean, this is a Premier League level footballer.
£72 million.
The phrase "he should know better" comes to mind. It's your team is 0-0 away in a game you should be winning. You're getting outplayed, and he's done something like that. And there is the argument of saying Alioski's made them most of it, and I understand that it is, he is in a sense diving to for use of a better word, he is playing up to the incident. But as a Premier League level footballer, with the way the rules are now, if you dip your head into someone, you're going to get sent off, and that's it. And
there's 55 cameras watching your every move, and despite our qualms against it, there is every single angle in slow motion the whole time, the whole 90 minutes, and the referees can see everything. And as soon as he goes over to that monitor, your days are numbered as far as I'm concerned with that headbutt. And it was rightly a red card.
Pepe looked like he was ready to go as well. He knew what he'd done. When the red card came out, he looked like he was ready to walk. It's ridiculous, and he should be apologising to the manager, the fans, the players, everyone. He should be grovelling.
I think he should refund the travelling fans for his performance. That's all I'll say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's going to hit his bank account, isn't it?
Yeah. It might not next week. Hey,
well,
fans are back.
That's a positive for everyone. Fans are back in the stadium.
Yeah. Is it the first game where fans are back is West Ham United? West Ham versus Manchester United on the 5th of December, which will be very exciting after
if anyone listening has got any pull in the ticket office, get Jamie Lambert one,
please.
I'm sure he'd really enjoy that.
Just say we're from off the line, and they'll get it. They'll get it. They know me.
They know it. I reckon David Gold listens to this.
Yeah, on Spotify, which is where you can find us now as well. If I haven't said it 5 times already, this podcast.
On Spotify. Link in the Instagram.
Yeah, plug the Spotify. go listen.
But no, we'll move on to our final power rankings. Now, there was a few teams we could have done for this. We could have talked about Arsenal
as a whole.
Arsenal's performance as a whole, West Brom yet again, Sheffield United yet again. But we've decided to go for Newcastle. Based upon the utterly woeful, lifeless,
gutless,
dire, flaccid performance that we saw at the weekend against us. I mean, they were missing Callum Wilson. I suppose that's a blow to them. It's a big blow to them.
You can't rely on Callum Wilson. No, you can't. You've got to have a whole team. You know, you can't just rely on Callum Wilson, Alisson, Maximan and go, you know, win us games. You know, that's what United do with Fernandes, but it's different. I just think, yeah, Newcastle are just... I don't know how they get results. You know, I watched them against West Ham, and they were quite good against West Ham, but that was the first game of the season, and, you know, it's all new, and obviously West Ham were in a pretty poor place at that point in terms of morale. But, oh, Christ, it was dire watching them. And as we've said before, 29% possession is just not good enough for a Premier League side. Despite Chelsea's quality, I think you've got to be creating a few more chances than that. What do you reckon?
I think Newcastle's football is one-dimensional. I think it's predictable. I know, obviously, we know a Newcastle fan is very vocal about his dislike and distaste for Steve Bruce and his managerial style. I can understand
many Newcastle fans are.
It's very backwards. It's very unimaginative. It's not football becoming of a team that at one point in the last 20 or so years were up in, you know, the upper echelons Champions League level of the Premier League, and now they're down in the doldrums playing boring football with boring players, relying on Alan St. Maximan to get them results. And I think that's what Chelsea did on Saturday, was limit the ability of Alan St. Maximan by
sticking a pacey wing back next to him, which is Reece James.
They put Reece James next to him, who bullied him all game.
Yeah,
and every time he cut inside, N'Golo Kante was there. Chelsea aimed to limit the ability of Alan St. Maximan, and as soon as you limit him, you limit Newcastle, because he's out and out their best player, out and out their only real attacking threat.
Yeah, I think when you bring on Miguel Almiron as well, and I think Miguel Almiron needs a more attacking system in order to thrive. You know, that's what he showed at Atlanta. And I just think, if you're not going to play to the strengths of your players, what are you doing? You know,
it's weak.
It's weird. It's weird, and I don't know how long. Because obviously, you know, there's all this talk and hubbub around the takeover still, and it's still rumbling on, and the Saudis are suing the Prem or whatever this shit that's going on. But when do you say that Steve Bruce's position is untenable? And that's really what you've got to say.
Unfortunately, that decision lies with Mike Ashley, and he shows about as much interest in this football club as I do in the Royal Opera House.
Yes. Really nice analogy there. But yeah, the power rankings all done. There you go. Bash bash bosh.
Bosh.
Hey. We'll go on to predict next week's games now. We'll start with is that tomorrow night? Shit, yeah. Tomorrow night we'll talk about.
It's a little bit late, but it's fine.
Yeah, should be right. Crystal Palace, Newcastle. What are you saying about that?
Well, two teams that lost last weekend. We've just talked about Newcastle. I think Crystal Palace. Is Wilf Zaha available?
No.
He's not. Will that make it interesting?
They've got the attacking nous of Christian Benteke.
Steve Bruce, obviously managing against his former team.
Yeah.
Managed Crystal Palace for 3 months at the start of the 2001-2002 campaign.
There we go. Wow, look at these facts. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Done some research, mate. Definitely haven't just opened the fixture on BBC Sport, and that's the first thing on there.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm going to claim it. Luka Milivojevic is out of isolation, but misses out. So
this grade A team news coming from Sam here.
It's definitely a weakened Crystal Palace side, but can they overcome Brucey Ball? This game all depends on who gets the early goal, doesn't it, really?
Definitely. I was about to say that.
And I would back Crystal Palace to do that over Newcastle. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 Crystal Palace win. I don't think it will be glamorous, but I think it will be what it is.
I think it'll be a 1-1. I think it'd be quite boring. But I hope it isn't. I hope it's interesting, because I'll probably watch it because it's on Prime. So.
Is it an Amazon jobby?
It's an Amazon jobby, so I'll be watching that tomorrow night. But,
well, Callum Wilson's back, but obviously Jamal Lascelles is doubtful after he picked up an injury last week at Chelsea. Against Chelsea. Ryan Fraser doesn't start either. So both teams pretty weakened by injuries. Definitely. But Callum Wilson's back, so Newcastle backfiring up front. So yeah, it really does depend. It really does depend on who gets the early goal there. Definitely.
Yeah, or if there's an early goal.
If there's an early goal.
We move on to Saturday morning. Quite an interesting one actually. Brighton, Liverpool.
Yeah. Two teams who won last week.
Yeah.
Brighton will not have the services of Tariq Lamptey because he's serving a one-match ban for the red card against
Aston Villa.
Adam Lallana won't be playing either. He's having a thigh injury assessed, but obviously Leandro Trossard and Solly March are both fit. Mo Salah's back for Liverpool. Mo Salah's back for Liverpool, and Jordan Henderson and Thiago Alcantara could both play at the weekend for Liverpool as well.
This injury crisis is a load of pish, isn't it? As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing to it.
I was going to say we've got an injury crisis, but we're going to start a midfield of Gini Wijnaldum, Thiago Alcantara, and Jordan Henderson.
And a front three of Jota, Mane, and Salah probably. Maybe Firmino.
Merseyside maniac drama in it, really. I think Liverpool are going to absolutely cane them 4-0.
I don't see a caning, but I see a comfortable win. I'm saying sort of 2-1-ish. Right. City Burnley, a must win for City.
Absolutely.
If they want to have any sort of... I'm not saying it's season defining because it's not, but these are the games you've got to be smacking Burnley in. Despite the fact they won last week, they're still low on confidence, and I think you've got to stop the threat of. But I think Burnley are a bit of a bogey team for City, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how that goes. But I do see City winning and bouncing back here. I don't think Pep will rest on his laurels.
No, I think Burnley will struggle in City, especially away from home.
Yeah.
I think City will run out winners in this one. Nick Pope potentially injured as well for this game for Burnley.
Yeah.
So that could it's a big knock for them.
Definitely.
So I think City will come out away with this 3-0.
Good. Okay. Really interesting game at 5:30 on the Saturday. Everton against Leeds. What do you reckon from this?
Well, two informed teams. I say two informed teams. Both of them got points last weekend. It'll be an interesting clash of two attacking sides, won't it? Obviously, Leeds starting with Patrick Bamford up front, an informed striker. Everton starting with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the informed striker.
That's it.
And two very attacking mindsets, two really brilliant managers.
Yeah.
So who knows which way this could go?
Well, you've got to predict it.
I would back Everton based upon the class they have in their side.
Yeah.
But it really could go either way.
I'd like to think this would be... I would like to say this will be a high-scoring draw, just because I think defensively they're both not brilliant, but also, they've got quite potent attacks. You look at Leeds and you think Jack Harrison, Patrick Bamford, Rodrigo, Helder Costa, all players that can affect the game. And I think, as I said earlier with Everton, conceding 2 goals to Fulham and really should be conceding 3 with the penalty. It doesn't bode well for Everton's defence, and that really needs to be shored up by Ancelotti. So we'll see whether that happens on Saturday. But yeah, I'm going to say a high scoring draw. Yeah,
definitely. I think it'll be interesting, but I do reckon Everton will run away winners 3-2.
Lovely.
That's what I'll say. But it definitely will not be a game where either team don't score. I think
100%
guaranteed goals in this one.
Yeah,
that's my little bonus prediction.
Guaranteed goals. A 6 point now. If I've ever seen one on Saturday night at the Hawthorns.
Well, exciting game between 20th and 19th.
No, I think it will be exciting actually. 2 teams both desperate for a win. The only 2 teams in the 92 who haven't won a game yet. And as a Southend fan, that's especially surprising. But yeah,
definitely. Sheffield United with some injury problems of their own at the back. Ethan Ampadu and Enda Stevens look like they're going to miss out through injury. But John Fleck was back last weekend.
Minutes, didn't he?
And Lys Mousset apparently could be back.
He's massive for them. I think he's their only proper threat on goal. Obviously, McGoldrick has his moments, but they're few and far between. And McBurney just seems a little bit off. And Rian Brewster, we've talked about in previous Boshes, as I think ineffectual would be being nice to him.
Definitely.
But yeah. What do you reckon for this game?
Now, it's whether Sheffield United's defensive losses will tell. I don't think they will. Thing is, because of my close relationship with the Sheffield United fan, is one of my better mates, I don't want to say they're going to lose, but...
Well, despite me also being friends with him, I'm actually going to say a West Brom win. Because I watched the performance that West Brom put in against Man United, and I thought it was spirited. I watched the performance that Sheffield United put in against West Ham, and it was flat and woeful. So, and that's what I'm going off. And I don't.
Do you know what? Yeah, you've swayed me. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say also that. I've lost my words. My words appear.
That doesn't happen often to Sam Davis. He's usually full of words.
Say West Brom will win. I think it'll be 1-0. I don't think it'll be glamorous, but I think it'll be what it is.
Yeah. Right. Sunday. Southampton versus Manchester United.
Really good
Massive game. Massive game. What do you reckon? What are you saying?
Little stat. Little stat for this game.
Stats.
Little stat. If United manage to beat Southampton on Sunday, this will be a new club record for Manchester United. It'll be 8 consecutive away league wins.
Wow.
And if that's not testament to how shocking their home form has been this season,
considering
I don't know what
position.
is. But no, it'll be an interesting one. Obviously, Victor Lindelof and Aaron Wan-Bissaka are still coming back off injuries, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he's hopeful that they'll be back. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, Martial needs a goal under his belt, I think.
Yeah, I think Theo Walcott will be firing.
Is Ings back?
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do believe it's one of them where he's in contention.
Right.
It could be, it couldn't be. It's going to come down to an on-the-day fitness exam to decide whether he plays. But they've got a capable replacement in Shea Adams, who's been playing really well recently, and is benefiting from the production of Theo Walcott.
Definitely.
So it definitely comes down to which team wants it more, Southampton or Bruno Fernandes. And I reckon this will be a Bruno Fernandes show again. I think he's going to continue his good run of form. I am predicting a 2-1 win to Manchester United.
I'm actually going to go with you on that one, but I'd like to see Southampton win this one. But I'm going with my head. Right, probably the biggest game of the weekend, and also one of the most important games of the season so far.
I'm nervous already.
Cats amongst pigeons really comes to mind here. Chelsea Spurs. What? I'll let you take point. Go on. You're saying.
I'm very, 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 very nervous about this.
Yeah.
This is for Chelsea the biggest game of the season, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Our biggest game of the season. This rivalry has gone back years. You know, the games between Chelsea and Tottenham have been, you know, historical.
Battle of the Bridge, I recall.
Battle of the Bridge. Injury problems. Christian Pulisic could be back for Chelsea. Obviously sidelined with a hamstring problem against Burnley. Toby Alderweireld is unlikely to play for Tottenham.
That's huge.
Because of an injury. He will miss Tottenham's.
That's huge, because if you play a player like, I don't know, Davinson Sanchez, who hasn't really been firing, or do you go for Joe Rodon, the new signing from Swansea? It's a massive call to make for Spurs, and one that they need to get right. Otherwise, it could really be a horror show with how good Abraham is always good at the start of the season, and Timo Werner, who's starting to, I think, get used to the Premier League and the intensity of it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think most importantly, Chelsea are back with Kai Havertz and Thiago Silva in their team.
I wouldn't play Kai Havertz. I think I'd play Thiago Silva. I wouldn't play Havertz in this game.
I've got a feeling we're going to play 4-3-3, and we will play Havertz and Mount in the midfield three with Kante holding. I think
that's
what we'll
worrying
do.
for me.
Whether I think that's
Whether
I think that's the right decision. Do you know what?
Who played there last week? Was it Kovacic?
Kovacic and Mount. It was.
I'd play that
Kante,
again.
Kovacic and Mount.
I think they know the meaning. I think they know the meaning of this game. I don't know if Havertz does, especially he's been out of the team a couple of weeks with COVID issues and that sort of thing. So I don't know whether I play Havertz in this, but obviously I'm not the manager of Chelsea. So.
And Thiago Silva against Kane and Son against Reece James will be a really interesting battle. Massive in this game.
Yeah.
Whoever wins those probably wins the game.
Yeah. What are you saying for prediction? Go on.
I've got to predict it. It's gonna. I can't.
Go on.
For the life of me, predict that Chelsea are going to come away with anything other than a win because I just haven't got it in me. So I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 3-1.
Okay.
And I think we're going to really, really shock everyone and prove that no matter how good that these lot look, they cannot beat Chelsea, and that is even though they beat us already this year in penalties. But we don't need to talk about that because it's at the Bridge, and I'm very excited. So do you know what? Poke it. We're going to beat them 3-1. Timo Werner scores 2. Tammy gets 1, and that's it.
These games are always extremely interesting, and you think of the battles that have happened over the previous years with Chelsea and Spurs. I just can't see this being anything other than a draw. I hate to be boring, but I just think it's going to be a really well-contested game, and it will be interesting, but I just feel like it's going to be a draw. It depends on how Chelsea attack out the blocks, because they're obviously going to be coming up against a Mourinho side, and that's difficult at the best of times. So, but yeah, I'm saying a draw. And we'll move on to the last game of this week's fixtures, which is Arsenal versus Wolves, which is a really important game for the Gunners. What's your calling on this one?
An interesting one, definitely. Obviously, Wolves a decent result against Southampton on Monday evening, which will have boosted their confidence a little bit. I think they're another team that suffered from inconsistency this season. Two teams that have suffered from inconsistencies this season. I don't think if Arsenal perform the way that they did against Leeds will come away with anything other than a loss in this game. They allow as many chances.
That's it. I agree completely.
If they allow Daniel Podence and Jimenez, Adama Traore the ability to roam in their final third as they did Leeds, you can't see anything other than trouble for Arsenal. And Wolves have always got the ability to create. Arsenal will obviously be without Nicolas Pepe. Whether that's a good thing for them.
I was about to say it might be a good thing, but
it will mean Willian will probably play.
I think
a player
Wolves,
that Arsenal fans pretty disappointed with so far from what.
I think Wolves will play up because they love playing up against the bigger teams. And obviously Arsenal haven't played that well this season, but I think Wolves can. Are going into this game thinking we can really get something from here if they look at the highlights that they had against Leeds. Obviously Arteta will be changing around, but it's an interesting crossroad for Arsenal here. So will they be sort of mid-table fodder if they keep sort of losing these games throughout the season? That's the question I'm asking. But what are you saying did you say Wolves win?
I'm not gonna go either way on this one because I can't. I can make arguments for both of them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make arguments for neither of them, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be 1-1.
Okay, I'm gonna go for a Wolves win. Okay, that's a Bosh.
Fair enough. That is Bosh.
Bosh.
To all you wonderful people who are listening on YouTube, thank you for returning to the OG platform that we both started out on, and to the people listening in their cars or with their girlfriends or with their families sat around the table for dinner. Thank you for tuning in on our new platform, Spotify. So thank you for listening on here. We're very excited.
Yeah, leave a like if you're on YouTube, and share it with your friends on Spotify if you're about it. But thank you very much for listening to the Off the Line podcast, and we will see you very soon for the next one. All right, bye.